Hey everybody, thank you for checking out this video. I appreciate it. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is the latest installment in my horror movie Superlatives series. I am collaborating with my good friend Carlin. We're discussing 1977 this week, which of course is an amazing and spectacular year. It's the year I was born. Before we get started, I do ask if you could hit that subscribe button and notification bell if you haven't done so already. And do for both of our channels. Carlin, I've been subscribed to his channel for years now. He puts out 3 or 4 videos out every week. And our Horror Movie Superlative series comes out every Wednesday. And I also have my Nails in a Coffin series, which is a ton of fun. I'll put a link up there for you guys to check out. And I'm staying in Haddonfield for the next couple of months, and it's going to take us right up until Halloween. So it's a lot of fun. I hope you check those videos out. So after you watch this video of mine, please go to Carlin's channel. I'll have a link down in the description. And then watch his video with the same title as this one. And then he's going to have a poll up under the community tab on his page. And we need you guys to vote on who you thought had the better selections. Whether those selections closely resembled your own or whoever you thought had a better justification. Doesn't matter. It's all in good fun. Just please watch both videos first before you vote. That's about it. Let's get down to business and pick out some horror movie superlatives for 1977. My selection for the most amazing horror movie goes to Dario Argento's Suspiria. It's a beautifully shot movie. I love the cinematography, and one of my favorite aspects of this movie is the use of colors. If you're unfamiliar with this movie, it's about a young woman who goes to a prestigious German ballet academy, and she soon realizes that the school is a front for something really sinister, amid a series of, grisly and violent murders. Also in this movie, you have a score from Giallo legends, Goblin. I can listen to them anytime. Such a wonderful, wonderful band. The death scenes in this film are great. Just the ambience that Dario brings. It just makes you feel so unsettled in some of the scenes. One of my favorite parts of this movie is where a young woman is being chased and stalked by the killer. And, all these different lit hallways are different colors. She's trying to get away from this person. And then she jumps out of a window. She lands in a nest of wire. It traps her. She can't get out of it. She's struggling, only to have her throat slashed. It's a great looking scene. The tension it builds is fantastic. It's one of my favorite Giallo films. I could talk about the use of colors and scoring it and the directing and the acting all day long. If someone says, hey, recommend me a Giallo, 9 times out of 9, I'm going to recommend Suspiria because I just love it so much. Easy selection for me for my most amazing pick for 1977. My selection for the most so bad it's good film, I selected The Car. I didn't hear about this movie within the last couple of years. And when you hear about a movie about a possessed car or possessed vehicles, most people are going to mention Maximum Overdrive or Christine. But this movie came out about a decade before those movies. It's about a small desert town that's being terrorized by a powerful, believed to possessed car. And the local sheriff is the only person who may be able to stop it. And the sheriff is played by Thanos' dad, James Brolin, who starred in the Amityville Horror, who Carlin did a review just recently for, which is really good. Hopefully I'll remember to put a link up there. This is a fun movie. I think the car looks great. It's really menacing. It's a 1971 Lincoln Continental Mark III Black Coupe. Now, I really don't know anything about cars, but I do know that this is a cool looking car, and I think it fit the role really well. It's another one of those movies I don't want to say too much about because I don't want to spoil anything because you should check it out. And the director was told to make Jaws on land, and I can see that when watching this movie. Now, some of the acting is, kind of sketchy at times, and it is very derivative of Jaws, but it's still a fun movie. Like Carlin says, every movie is worth at least one watch. I think you'll have fun. Maybe not on multiple rewatches, but one sit down and watch, I think you'll enjoy this movie, get through some of the bad parts. It's kind of fun with the car, it's trying to stalk people, trying to kill them, and they're trying to get away from it. It is a fun movie, and when I started to record this video, I hadn't watched that many horror movies that come out in 1977, and The Car was the one I had to select for so bad it's good, so that's the one I went with. My selection for the most WTF movie goes to Deathbed, The Bed That Eats. I remember listening to a comedian, and he was talking about this movie called Deathbed, The Bed That Eats. And he said it was a real movie. And I'm like, really? How could that really be a movie? And I searched for it, and I had to watch it. I kept thinking, what the F is going on in this movie? And this movie was released, 45 years ago. And I even think back then they must have been out of ideas to come up with Deathbed. So the movie's about a bed that is possessed by a demon that consumes people and dissolves them into bones and nothing. I think this synopsis alone is a WTF. Now, this movie also could have fit into So Bad It's Good movie because it is worth a watch. It's not a great movie by any means, but it's not unwatchable either. If you like WTF movies movies that are kind of out there a little bit different, Deathbed is a great selection for WTF. It's worth a one-time watch just to partake in the craziness that comes with the movie about a bed that eats people. And for best gore, I went with a movie that I adore, The Incredible Melting Man. I first heard about this film when I was watching Good Bad Flicks cover it, and he spoke very, very highly of it, so I had to check it out, and I kind of fell in love with this movie. It's about three astronauts that are orbiting Saturn, and they pass through Saturn's rings when a solar flare passes through the rings and irradiates the astronauts. One of the astronauts, Steve, wakes up back on Earth and learns that his teammates have died. Well, Steve also learns that he's horribly disfigured and his condition is going to worsen as the movie progresses. He pretty much starts to melt. Incredible Melting Man. He starts to kill and feed on people, but the effects in this movie are fantastic. I like the melting effects. It's one of those effects that can pull you in and make you imagine, hey, what would it feel like for this to happen to you? They're real slimy and gross. It's fantastic. I smile because it's just a gross, fun movie. I didn't want to show too many clips of this movie, but because it is a fun creature feature that I want you all to experience for yourselves, especially for a movie that came out in the 70s. Like I said, the melting effects are goopy and slimy and great. You feel for the main character going through it. Tons of good gore in this film. A blast of a movie. So definitely go check out my best gore pick for 1977, The Incredible Melting Man. For most unique, I went with the iconic David Lynch movie, Eraserhead. Movie has a legacy for a reason. I really enjoyed it. Putting yourself back in, the year when this movie released, 1977, this movie felt unique when I compared it to the other movies that I've seen for that year. But David Lynch movies really are unique. All you have to do is watch one, and I think you're probably going to agree with me. This was his first movie, and this is another movie that requires multiple viewings because you're going to pick up on stuff you didn't pick up on, the first time. There's lots of audience interpretation of this film, like what is David Lynch trying to say. Even if you're not a fan of this movie, it's very different from all the horror movies that came out that year. This movie's kind of hard to explain. It has a surreal mindscape dream atmosphere to it. And if you haven't seen this movie, you need to check it out. It's got iconic images for a reason. And I'm sure you heard of this movie. And let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this movie. How did you interpret it? Because, comparing it to all the other horror movies that I watched that came out in 1977, I think it's unique. And let me know in the comments down below if you think this movie is unique as well. For my most overrated selection, I went with a really bad movie. The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Now, I love The Exorcist. I selected it as my most amazing pick for the year that it came out. But its sequel, it was kind of doomed from the start. I don't think they even should try to make a sequel to The Exorcist. They did bring back Linda Blair as Regan, and I guess that was just trying to get more butts in the seat, but I didn't even care for the story. The whole plot felt really, really forced. As you know, the trouble with sequels is they're always going to be compared to the original. Now, there are instances where the sequel is on par with or even surpasses the original. Got The Godfather 2, The Empire Strikes Back, Terminator 2, and in some cases, even Dawn of the Dead. The Exorcist is one of the greatest and most scary horror movies ever made. That's a lot to live up to, but The Exorcist 2 fails miserably. It had many rewrites during the script, before filming and during filming, and you can see that's evident in the final product. It felt all broken up, like the story just had no flow. The pacing was really bad, and there's a part that it's one of the funniest, unintentionally, I should say, the most unintentionally hilarious scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie, where somebody falls down a cliff, and I'm sure you've seen it before. It's pretty bad and funny. But not a fan of this movie at all. They should have just left this franchise alone. So yeah, it was an easy selection for my most overrated pick for 1977. And finally, my selection for the most underrated horror movie to come out in 1977, Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. Now, it may not be fair to put this movie as underrated since it is loved by many, but when I looked at all the other horror movies for 1977, I had no one to fill in the category, so I gotta try and make it fit, and I think I can. It is an underrated horror movie depending on how you look at it. If you compare it to other Wes Craven horror movies, you know, if you ask someone, hey, name a Wes Craven film, they're going to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, and of course his greatest movie of all time, Shocker. But this is still a really good movie, and the reason I like it so much is because it made me feel the same dread I felt when watching Last House on the Left. I felt the same way watching this movie. And one thing I love about Wes is he made you scared about normal everyday things. Like Last House on the Left kind of made you scared to talk to strangers. A Nightmare on Elm Street made you scared to go to sleep. Scream made you scared of the unknown. And The Hills Have Eyes made you scared to go on a road trip. If you think about it, all these things are common occurrences, things we probably do every day or everyone, you know. But, you know, and The Hills Have Eyes, it's about a normal family that's stalked, tortured, brutalized, and murdered by a bunch of hill people. And I'm sure that's how they got the term, the hill people, from The Hills Have Eyes. Comparing it to all the other horror movies I've seen in 1977, like I said, the rules we have is you actually had to have seen the movie, and you can only use a movie once in a category. And it may not be fair to put The Hills Have Eyes in underrated since it is loved by many. But when you compare it to other movies in Wes's filmography and the other movies that I've seen for 1977, I do feel that The Hills Have Eyes is underrated. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a quick summary of all my selections. Most amazing, Dario Argento Suspiria. So Bad It's Good, The Car. WTF, Deathbed, The Bed That Eats. Best Gore, I love this movie. I highly recommend The Incredible Melting Man. Most unique, David Lynch's first movie that is just so good. Very unique movie, Eraserhead. Most overrated, they should have left this franchise alone with The Exorcist 2 and The Heretic. And most underrated, The Hills Have Eyes. Thanks again for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Now, again, please go to Carl's channel, link in the description. Watch his video with the same name, and then please go to the community tab on his page and vote for who you thought had the better picks. And as always, please let me know your picks down in the comments section down below. Carl and I talk all the time how much we love reading other people's picks. It's a lot of fun, and we thank everybody for doing that. It's really cool, you guys and gals. And again, if you could please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video, and please check out my Nails in a Coffin series. Everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, stay safe, stay happy, stay frosty. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.